Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and it is that time. Since the year has officially passed, we can now take a look back at 2024 and decide what was my personal favorites from Mattel for last year, for 2024. Your list may be far different, and it may not be quite the same as what mine is, but let's go ahead and get started. These are my top 10 favorites from Mattel for 2024. Number 10 would be the Styxosaurus. Mattel was lacking this year when it comes to marine reptiles. However, they did release one spectacular marine reptile, the Styxosaurus. Although very stylized, it's easily one of my favorite marine reptiles Mattel has made so far, with a really cool overall design, giving it kind of a monster movie style vibe, as well as kind of an old school chap may feel. Along with a gorgeous paint scheme, this figure deserves to be on this list. Number 9 would be the Serata Sukups. This figure ended up being so much nicer in hand than I would have ever expected. It's a brilliant species choice that just really does not have much representation in figure form, but also is a visual feast for the eyes with the very cool paint scheme it has, and is easily one of my favorites from 2024, again landing it a deserving place on this list at number 9. Number 8 is the Hammond Collection Cutosaurus, maybe the most unexpected entry into the Hammond Collection so far, but by far one of my favorites. I know there are so many other species that people would have liked to have seen in the Hammond Collection first, but I absolutely adore this species, so to have a super articulated version of it now in my collection is honestly a dream come true, and I feel like Mattel almost created a masterpiece with this figure. In my opinion, this figure should land itself into everybody's top 10 from Mattel for 2024. Number 7 is the Suka, the gigantic trackers Suka. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I was a little more excited for the Protector Pack version of the Suka than I was for this version, which apparently the Protector Pack version may be cancelled from what I've heard. Wouldn't surprise me with what Mattel does all the time, kind of teasing us with stuff and then just outright cancelling it before it ever gets released. After I had finally had the opportunity to hold this figure in my hands, I can say it is definitely one of the best of the year. Mattel did a great job of sculpting this one out to look really quite accurate to the way we see it in Chaos Theory, as well as a pretty nice paint application. I definitely wish there were a little bit less injuries through the course of the figure, but we know Mattel has been pretty much going all out with those Wave 2 Chaos Theory figures and their injuries, but no doubt one of their best of the year, but also a massive upgrade over their older version. Number 6 is the Hammond Collection Therizinosaurus. Without a doubt, one of the most anticipated figures of the year for probably everyone. This figure was so much better than I could have ever hoped. Incredible sculpt, some pretty nice paint apps, and of course all of the lovely articulation we know and love from the Hammond Collection. I really wish they would have given it the blind eyes, but that's just kind of a minor nitpick, and either way, this figure is definitely worthy of anyone's top 10, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see if it were landing in the number 1 slot of many people's top 10s. Number 5 is the Diplodocus, our yearly giant sauropod, and I would say probably one of the nicest color schemes that we've had on any sauropod yet. It also is a fantastic species choice, one of the most iconic sauropods, I would say, and just generally one of the most impressive giant sauropods we've had yet. I honestly feel like no top 10 list for 2024 would be complete without this fantastic Diplodocus. Number 4 is the Hammond Collection Giganotosaurus. It's hard to say for sure, but I would say that this figure was probably the most anticipated figure of the year. You know, for most people, definitely for me, but I'm sure it was the same case for many others as well. I love these larger Hammond Collection theropods, and I can't wait to see what species they release next, but this Giganotosaurus was absolutely one of the best Mattel has released. I wouldn't say just this year. I feel like that is a statement that could probably span the entire history of Mattel's Jurassic World toy line, especially when it comes to the Hammond Collection specifically. Like, I really feel like the Giganotosaurus was overall a better figure even than their Tyrannosaurus, and all of the improvements that we have been asking for, we've been wanting to see for the Hammond Collection were found on this figure, along with really nice sculpt and really nice paint application. A few minor things about the figure that could have been improved, like the size of the arms and the glass eyes, still not quite working so well. I also feel like the head sculpt was slightly off compared to the way we see it on screen, but overall, it's definitely one of my favorites for this year. Number 3 is the Young Rex. I feel like this figure being in my number 3 spot might not be a popular decision, but it had to happen. I'm such a massive sucker for the old Kenner figures, so anytime Mattel pays tribute to those older Jurassic Park figures, it instantly tugs at the old heartstrings, as they say. The color scheme is amazing for this, and not to mention the sculpting of the head looking so much more similar to the classic Young Rex from Kenner. It fills me with that same feeling I got when I was a young child playing with the original Young Rex. This one just doesn't land in my number 3 spot based off of its gorgeous appearance, but more so based off of the feeling I get whenever I hold this one in my hands and admire it. Number 2 is the Demon Carnotaurus. I feel like if you are a viewer of my channel, you kinda saw this one coming. Of course, the Carnotaurus was going to make my list, and it was honestly very hard not to put this in my number 1 spot because of it being a Carnotaurus, but there is no doubt that it is deserving of, at the very least, the number 2 spot. Another situation just like the Young Rex, where Mattel gave us a tribute to the old Kenner line and gave it to us in a giant way, sporting that real feel skin that we love and that classic Demon Carnotaurus look. This figure is by far one of my favorite figures Mattel has ever produced. I do agree with what others have said when they mention the fact that it should have come with capture gear. No doubt about that. I also would have preferred an articulated jaw over that kind of flexible jaw that we have, but that is again just a little bit of a minor nitpick. Maybe even some like battle damage would have been fun, but either way, this is another one of those figures that just takes me straight back to being a child. Number 1 is the Beckle Spine Ax. This figure is seriously on another level for me. It is without a doubt one of the absolute most gorgeous sculpted figures Mattel has ever released, not to mention sporting one of the best paint applications we've seen all year as well. Incredibly well done in the screen accuracy department on top of everything. I knew once I had seen this figure in person that it would be hard for Mattel to top it, and obviously they didn't, because my number 1 slot goes to the Beckle Spine Ax, and I honestly feel like this one will be a hard figure to top in the future as well. I would love to maybe see a repaint of this one, kind of giving us the other version of the Beckle Spine Ax from Chaos Theory. Just something, food for thought, Mattel. Maybe you could release a repaint of this at some point, but this figure is absolutely incredible and definitely my favorite to come from Mattel for 2024. So in the comments section, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If your top 10 maybe looks similar to mine, or maybe what other figures you might have placed in the top 10. Again, this is my top 10 favorite figures that Mattel released for 2024. So in the comments section, let me hear your thoughts, and of course, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.